What's up, everybody? It's Chad. We're back again with another episode of Ask Chad. Grassy Logic, do that twice, right?
Yeah.
We're here after we had another episode yesterday. So if you guys are just joining us, yesterday's episode should be airing around this time right now today. So lucky y'all, you get 2 episodes in 1 week. So I know, right? I'm see-through right here on the top. Yeah, Gino was just pointing that out. So thank you all for joining me today. Today I am joined with nurse practitioner Lorraine Sanchez. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hello.
She's joined me several times before, and I love bringing her on. She gives a great perspective when it comes from the medical field. As you guys know, cannabis users are also medical cannabis users, so this directly affects us too, and everyone has to see the doctor every now and then. So, and of course, you're not a doctor, you're a nurse.
Yes.
But yeah, I appreciate you joining me again today. We're going to have some great conversations. You know, we had a game plan beforehand because she came with some really great information. I really want to share it with you all too. I have some other information for you guys. And also before the show started, we got word that today or sometime this week, we could see a change from the federal government when it comes to cannabis rescheduling and classification for the CSA. So we'll see if that happens. As you guys know, the past few months, we've been waiting for something to happen after the executive order that Trump signed. One thing I also want to do is I want to show something off, and Gino's slowly putting it here. There it is. So yes, here is my trophy for Best Advocate of 2025 from the Essies. Thank you so much for everybody who voted for me. I told you guys I'd bring it today, and here it is. Here's the trophy. Get to show it off. I know it's a couple double view there, but yeah, I wanted to bring it here. I wanted to have it like in view the whole time, but I'm clumsy and I will break it. So I'm gonna put it over here where it's nice and safe. But thank you all again for for voting and everything. And I wanted to bring it to show it off. I just forgot yesterday. I almost forgot today. I was actually late to the show, so I had to go back to the house and grab it. So thank you guys for being patient while I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start today's episode. With that being said, could you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people who may not know who you are?
Sure. So my full name is Lorraine Sanchez. I go by Lori Sanchez. I am a family nurse practitioner here in town in Las Cruces. I have my own little private practice that I do an assortment of all kinds of things. But I do primary care. I do medical aesthetics as well. I do medicinal cannabis certifications still. And then now on my side bare time, I'm also working out of New Mexico Medical and Injury. So 2 days a week, if you happen to have been in a car accident, I can also help you with that. We are now located right across the street from Memorial Medical Center, well, across Telshore from Memorial Medical, in the little brown buildings there right across the street. So you can come see us for that. The number for the accidents is 575-259-6478. And then our new office number, because we've had a couple of changes. Besides our move, we had to change our phone numbers for many various reasons. But our new contact would be 777-4681, or our textable line is 201-3265.
And that's 575, right?
575, yes.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yes.
For us down here in the South, it's 575.
Yeah, 575. So in case you need to find me or get a hold of me, or you have more questions, or you hear something I talk about today and you want to talk more about it, just contact the office and get in touch.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. And I appreciate that, great information for the people who may need to use it, because I have a hard time finding doctors sometimes, so,
Yes.
when it comes to something like that, I'm sure it'll help. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you still doing medical cannabis cards because, I still, use your services and stuff when I need them, to renew mine, and a bunch of other people I'm sure do as well too. Are you taking new patients by any chance?
For cannabis certifications, yes.
Okay.
Cannabis certifications, that's like no problem to process and do. And that is, one of my major passions to help people and fill that kind of gap in our care here in New Mexico. So that's just something I do help, and I enjoy helping people with, and to make sure they get it done right. Because really it's an office visit where we sit down, I go over your medications to see maybe you're on something that will interact with your cannabis. Maybe you shouldn't be smoking cannabis because you are also taking heart arrhythmia medication, and that is a no-no. So just little things that your lay or regular medical provider wouldn't necessarily know or look into for problems. And that's the whole purpose of the medical certification is, yes, you qualify within the state of New Mexico to have medicinal cannabis, that condition, to make sure you qualify. And then after that, to make sure it's safe for you and it's not going to cause you 10 other problems. Or there is the talk sometimes we have to have that cannabis isn't the only answer for everything. So sometimes if it's not working or something is not going right, sometimes, like I said, you need other medical treatment to look into, and to just steer people in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's something great to mention, because some people think that I'm just going to get my weed card, everything's fine, but sometimes it just doesn't work for that person or individual, and it will never work for them for that case use or whatever. So it's great that you have that truthfulness to it, because so many people will just lie and be like, oh yeah, use it for whatever, and you just sign off on it, and this and that.
Yeah.
But you're at least, really taking it serious, because I can attest for it, because, I go and see you, and yeah, you guys are very serious about it, and you scold me all the time for smoking cannabis, which you should be doing.
I still have to tell you it's not okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like no, don't ever do it again and never come back. But it's like, I have to tell you because it's the facts.
Yeah, exactly. And I share those facts with everyone else too. I'm like, smoking anything isn't good for you.
Right.
Yeah, like cannabis, tobacco, oregano, whatever. You shouldn't be smoking and inhaling anything like that. But I see a change in the future when it comes to cannabis consumption in the ways. I kind of see people vaping less, because that seems to be like a lot of issues coming from it. And it's not necessarily from what's inside of it, but it's the devices themselves and how they're made, and the metals that are used, and the chemicals that seep out to it. That's usually the issue that we run into when it comes to those. And that's been my worry, because businesses and companies, they're going for the cheapest device they can find, and of course cost and overhead, of course we all understand that, but that doesn't mean it's the best device and it's the safest device to use in that case. So those of you listening, if you're a heavy vapor, maybe talk to your doctor about it, versus kind of just going off of that, because there could be some reasons that you're having issues, or maybe it's just not working well. There are a lot of issues with vapes right now. And actually, they did a study that came out recently. If you have CHS, it'll actually come on faster if you use the vape pens, they found out. They're finding that, if you are susceptible to that, it'll show faster if you use vape pens, and that's what their study concluded.
Interesting.
It is. And I don't know if you follow her, but she has like social media stuff, and they're doctors, and they base a lot of their stuff around cannabis, and they're the ones who did this study. And they're like, who paid for it? No one. We did this because we care.
We see it.
Yeah, we see something that needs to whatever. And so it's great that she's honest with us on that stuff too, because the CHS thing, it's kind of new, and it's kind of alarming for a lot of people. And I know a lot of us watching are like, what the hell is that? And some people I've talked to even recently have told me, sometimes this and this happens. I'm like, ooh, that sounds like the CHS thing, but we're still, as a community, not sure exactly what causes it. Is it the cannabis? Is it the pesticides? Is it the vape pens? They haven't really narrowed down exactly where it is.
Yeah, that always goes back to the age-old question: can you be allergic to cannabis?
Yeah, that's true too, and maybe that's what it is.
Is it the inflammatory reaction? Is it that? Is it the combination? Is it the combustion? Is it the heat? Is it the forever plastics?
Yeah.
In the little pens that cost pennies on the dime. Like, you heat them.
Yeah.
And if it's proven now that if we eat them and they live in our bodies forever, if you inhale them, that's like a direct route to just deposit.
True. And I mean, pre-rolls, every single pre-roll I know is in a plastic tube. Every single
to seal out the smell.
Yeah, a lot of flour, they come in, Mylar bags. I've seen many, and I tell people this, especially when you're storing flower cannabis, do not store it in a plastic container. One, that will seep into your cannabis, it'll get into the plant because of the microplastics. And two, it's just a very terrible product to use when you want to store cannabis. It's not as airtight. The plastics will get in there and you get the flavor and stuff. Use glass. Glass is a safer thing to use. Even when you drink beer, is anybody drinking beer out of plastic?
Good point. Well, plastic solo cup.
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead. Voice of God over here.
Voice of God.
I'll turn it up so I don't have to yell. All aluminum cans have a plastic lining.
You're right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
But a mason jar. So drink your moonshine.
Harm reduction, right?
Right, yeah, harm reduction where we can, and it's these little things, and they could add up, and the main focus has been THC in that conversation, and that's one thing that kind of worries me, because there's so many compounds in cannabis. Why are we focusing just on one? Maybe we're actually missing the real issue. Maybe it's something else and not THC. Don't get me wrong, I'm a believer that we don't need to have 8 million % THC in our flower,
Yeah,
you know,
because
like,
any substance can become toxic.
yeah.
But how do we know and what does it do? Because it hasn't been studied.
Exactly. You know, and we're getting to that point where, you know, hopefully we'll be able to study it, and I'll update you guys on some information on that too a little bit later in the show, because it coincides with some other conversations we're going to have. But yeah, you know, I really hope that we figure that issue out, the CHS thing, and that's going to be in time. Luckily, there's great people in the science community who are also cannabis enthusiasts, and so they want to ensure that they do the science the right way versus the other ways that we're seeing, where I'm seeing studies where, oh yeah, we took analysis from 1980 and we compared it to today, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like a smart way to do a study.
Well, and even and we'll get into that more later, but because it's a Schedule 1, you can only source the cannabis from certain labs around the country.
Yeah, exactly.
So you are basing tests on whatever strain or percentage they have, not truly what's on the street, not truly what's even in the dispensaries.
Yeah.
So even that data, you can go back and look at it and be like, well, that's kind of bunk, because it's not actually what's happening and what's actually being studied. It's from the Mexican dirtweed you have from like the 60s that's like approved to be used.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway.
No. Those are great points, you know, because a lot of people don't think about that part. You know, when it comes to the studies, they're not going to the dispensary and grabbing the product off the shelf. They're not going to the street and testing that. They're going with a lab or someone who's allowed to grow it, and they're using that, and they're basing it off of that, when we don't even know how that was grown really, or you know, the quality of that product in general too. So it's a lot of shooting in the dark, you know.
Or how they were federally able to get the contract to provide that Schedule 1 substance.
Yeah, that's another. Oh, I got a guest coming on in a couple weeks to talk about that. He's been remember Dwayne? Yeah. I'm having Dwayne on in a couple weeks. So you guys are going to have a treat here in a couple weeks. We're going to get more information on that. So thank you for reminding me. Yeah, we're going to have a guest come and talk about that, because he's been going through that process too, and it's so corrupt.
Well, you know, hoops you got to jump through. Some of them are on fire.
Yeah. Right, and got razors around them too. So yeah, I totally get it. So before we go into more of the episode and everything, you know, what's some newer stuff that's been going on with you? You know, you got the new stuff, the shop going on. You know, what's some new plans?
Oh, well, just like I said, most of it, and it'll kind of tie into when I talk about insurance and kind of what's actually happening in the world of healthcare, at least from my independent little perspective. That just kind of made me pivot, really to make sure that when I'm seeing patients, that it makes the best use of my time. And if, like, I recently had to stop taking Medicaid. I will still see Medicaid patients for, like, if I see them for like their cannabis certification and we have that kind of visit, or like a one-time visit, I can still do that. But to do the primary care and comply with all the crazy stuff and all the paperwork, and then in the end to find out in 6 months that they took your claim and, I don't know, took it to the bathroom for a while and brought it back and decided we're not going to pay you.
Yeah.
And then you cannot legally, if they have Medicaid, ask for $30 for a copay or something, because at least get that. You're not legally able to. So it's just like money and time lost. And then multiply that by about 500. And so it's like, how do you keep the doors open?
Yeah.
So yeah, with that. So anyway, that's kind of what drove the decision. The bigger changes that happened with the start of the year, and this year has been especially fun in the land of prior authorizations and formularies, and what insurance will cover and what they won't. And
let's get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
So anyway, so hopefully I won't bore you too much and like slow me down or redirect me if needed. But I feel like health is one of those things where you take a half a credit class in high school in order to graduate. You don't remember anything. No. And unless you have a family that has good health-seeking behaviors, you don't really know when or how to do it.
Yeah.
Much the less how insurance works and why it costs money to go to the doctor, or why it's important to have it. So anyway, I'll do a quick overview on how insurance is supposed to work.
Perfect.
The kind of mix of what we got here in New Mexico and why it's awful. here. And so, yeah, just to give everyone like a good overview. So insurance, we'll start with that. So when you have health insurance, you can get it from either your employer, right? They pay down your premium, and you also pay money once a month. And you also probably have to pay a copay when you will get health care. Same speaks for Medicaid. I mean, Medicare. Medicaid, you pay nothing. Nothing. You can access care. You don't have to worry about payment, but now the worry is trying to be able to find somewhere to take your insurance and be able to be seen. So once you have insurance, like I said, you either pay for it through your job or your employer to keep it going, or it gets subsidized through Medicaid or the Affordable Care Act marketplace, which as of this year, with all of the changes, there was a ton of people displaced off of Medicaid, and they are now on the marketplace, which makes it even grayer for everyone to figure out what they need and how they can access it. Because usually the marketplace folks have such a huge deductible that they just don't even go, they don't seek care.
Yeah, that's
And
unfortunate.
yeah, they don't seek care, and then fast forward 5 years, and then it's something that can't be fixed.
Yeah.
So financially, like, health is wealth. People shouldn't have to sacrifice and go bankrupt because of one medical like illness or devastation. So anywho, insurance was supposed to be designed to be the middleman, to help be the middle person, to help the patient get what they need. So it should be, Chad's going to charge $600 for a visit, but Joey's going to charge $400 for a visit. If you get insurance, I'll negotiate with these two guys and they'll see you for $300.
Yeah.
So that's what insurance is supposed to be, to negotiate the rate that your doctor can charge or medical facilities can charge you. And then the providers are guaranteed payment, and thus your insured people are guaranteed care. Okay.
Air quotations.
Guaranteed care. So like I said, I already mentioned about deductibles. Most people, there's a healthy somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000 deductible, even with commercial insurance through your employer. Many people do elect for the higher deductible because if you don't really get sick, you should have backup for catastrophic injury, right? And that is the $2,000-$3,000 that you're in a car accident. You break your leg in 3 places and you can't walk for a month. You know what I mean? So it should be designed there to like help fix you and get back to work, not bankrupt you, because now the bill is about $100,000 for like an x-ray. So anyway, but they're supposed to be the middleman to help drive down that cost. But in the end, whether the insurances actually pay out on claims, whether or not what you pay every month actually even comes back full circle to you, most people don't sit there and calculate that number.
Yeah.
It's like, how much do I pay every month? How much does my employer pay? How much do I pay for a copay? And how much do I actually use my insurance?
Yeah.
Because then you have the other people that are trying to be, okay, preventative for everything. They pay the most every month. They use their insurance. They're healthy, but they go to the doctor like 2-3 times a year.
Yeah.
Where is the rest of that money?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of scamming that it feels like when it comes to with insurance, and it's been like that with many things, even like car insurance. You know, medical it's a whole different animal, of course.
Yeah.
You know, and all of us in America have mostly dealt with that too. You know, and it's unfortunate that it's got to this point, you know, where it's supposed to help us, but it's not. It's like scamming us, and we have to have it. You know, like vehicle insurance, you have to have it to drive. You know, if you don't have it, you're breaking laws. And so.
And why? Because statistically, bad things happen.
Yeah.
So you have to be covered.
Yeah.
Health-wise, too, bad things can also happen in the same way. So the same way you're insured for your car because you might get into an accident, you might need the medical care if you're in that accident.
Exactly. You know,
Like,
so it's like double, you know, a double effing. You could lose your car and be, you know, have to pay for that. And then on top of it, have to pay for your medical expenses because something wasn't covered or whatever, bureaucratic BS.
Yeah.
And go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. But yeah, it's just people don't even really see, like, and they talk a lot about hidden costs. And then there's, of course, the whole, what is it, delay, deny, defend.
Depose or whatever. Yeah.
that is alive and well. And it is probably one of the most educational books. And if you work in healthcare, you should definitely have read it to actually know, because as healthcare providers, we get trained on the clinical side, and our focus is so heavily on just helping the patient that all of the administrative things, as far as how to get the care paid for, we don't have time to learn that.
Yeah. You're too busy with the Latin terms, of the whole
Yeah.
body that, why would you want to pay
Yeah,
attention to
and
that?
later you learn, and I had to learn out of necessity in the hard way of how all of this stuff works. But it's like, wait a minute, like, how can you tell me you pay $500-600 a month for insurance, you never use it? Where does that money go?
Yeah.
Like, where? Anyway, it's just very. And then when you try to access it, you'll be delayed or denied. And it is, I mean, that is even as of the start of the year, everything got even worse
Yeah.
with as far as the amount of paperwork that we had to do. And everybody was touting that, oh, the big beautiful bill is going to give back. They're going to increase Medicare reimbursement by like 2.5%. And yay, look what we did. Your 2.5% does not cover the cost of the personnel or a computer program to keep up with the demands of you wanting prior authorization on every single order, whether it be a medication, God forbid you want an MRI. There's just so many layers of no. And then this is the icing on the cake. When you're doing many prior authorizations for drugs, one of the questions that comes out there frequently will be, does your patient have a diagnosis of cancer or other terminal disease?
Oh my gosh.
Why do you
Why
need
are
to
they
know that?
concerned? Yeah.
Why? Because you don't want to pay for their GLP because they might kick it in a year?
Yeah.
Like, that's not right. And that's not okay for an intermediary middle person to decide for that person.
Yeah, they decide a lot of medical procedures and decisions, and it's not the doctor's decision, it's the insurance company.
It is 100%
Some
the
dude
insurance.
who has no medical degree, like it blows my mind that we have allowed that to happen for so long. Like, why isn't that malpractice? You know what I mean? Like,
And you bring that up, and I have heard of a couple of lawsuits going here and there where they are now directly suing the insurance companies for delay in care.
Yeah.
Because if you can turn around and sue me for delay in care because if something happened, but it's not my fault.
Yeah.
It is the insurance that didn't approve whatever it was, so that's why you can't get it done.
Yeah.
Right now, Memorial is in the middle of suit, and you got to look at everything in the facts and not just the fun headline that they're being sued again for their medical practices, where in reality, it sounds awful that, oh my God, they denied cancer care, because you're a hospital. You're here to help people. Like, this is what you do. But it left out the fact that they didn't deny care. The drug wasn't covered. So what are they supposed to do? If the drug costs $10,000 and you need 5 treatments and insurance doesn't cover it, who's going to pay for that? The patient?
Right. It just comes out of thin air.
They have insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And so it becomes a fight back and forth about that. But in the end, it makes providers, hospitals, clinics, all the like in the same bunch, that it looks like we can't accomplish things, but it's really because we're not allowed to.
Your hands are tied.
Yeah. And if you do allow 10 treatments at $5,000 a treatment because you were a good human and you were going to help this person, you will not be open in the next month to be able to help other people. So it's like the bottom line of healthcare. It is a business, but it has gone way too far as just business.
Yeah. It's gone to the point where it's unchecked capitalism. Just running the whole
monopoly.
It's monopolies and
the vertical integration, which I first learned about that from you and talking about the cannabis shops. But if they had a debate in the Senate about it and how they were questioning the CEO of CVS Optum about that, and how I didn't even know that the companies are vertically integrated, that the same people that approve whether you can have a drug are the same people that they're buying the medication from. So they control the cost, they control the profit, they control everything. Huh?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Voice from God.
Voice from God.
I've been trying to keep really quiet
Tell us your ways, porque Dios te
No,
lo
it's
paga, porque yo no.
No, I was just going to say, when you talk about vertical integration, it's not just the people that are developing the drugs, the people that approve the drugs, but the people that are distributing the drugs, because certain insurance companies have certain
Yes.
deals
Yes.
with
Specialty
certain
pharmacies.
specialty pharmacies, or just pharmacies in general.
Yeah, direct from the manufacturer.
Yeah, I will try and be quiet for most of this because I'm just biting my
No, but
lips
and
here.
it's helpful when you can,
Yeah.
because when you have that experience and it doesn't sound like I'm just complaining.
That we'll be here for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I don't want to edit all that stuff down or
Yeah.
have to edit
Yeah.
it all. So,
No.
but just if you think about how corrupt the system is in general, my sister was a nurse, and we would go back and forth about the whole thing and just talk about it. It's pretty much almost legalized extortion, and then there's certain people that control everything. The doctors, providers hardly get paid anything from Medicaid, and they're not necessarily negotiating the price. And that's when you talk about the price of healthcare in general, it's gone up.
Yeah.
Because if you charge more, then they might negotiate at least to some price that they're going to pay you. And now,
And then we can
Medicaid
survive on that.
you may only get 30% off Medicaid or something like that at the end.
Yeah.
30% of what they charged.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do? You charge a little bit more, as some of the hospitals do, because the hospitals have to make money.
They have to recoup it somewhere.
And then that's why all these costs keep going up, and there's nothing that can really stop it. And like I said, don't even get me started about Congress, the
Inflation.
the Congress, inflation, the Affordable Care Act, because it required everybody to get everything. And I'm not.
Yeah.
God will be quiet now.
Okay.
So
We can entertain
Not gonna
that.
go
Yeah.
there.
All right.
and I kind of feel the system itself, as in good faith as they tried to at the beginning, it just wasn't set up correctly. And I kind of feel that there was the wrong people with their hands in the cookie jar in the whole time.
I don't want to pick political sides, because there is not a side on making things happen with us or
Right.
making our communities work. But it's like, hold on, I lost my train of thought. What were you saying? Come on. What was my point? I had to go on
you're
my
fine.
cyber thing.
I was just talking about
We weren't going to get political, so it's a good thing you forgot.
We were talking about
Sorry.
I was mentioning about how it's gotten corrupted to this point where it's monopolized, and we have all these people that are controlling all the medicine, from the prescription to the medicine to the appointments, all one person essentially, and it's just been so monopolized to the point where it is now that the control is all in one place. And so our medicine, and I wanted to mention this earlier too, the medicine costs here in the nation is really higher than other countries, because we just charge more for no reason essentially.
Oh, yeah, the world supply of the derivative of morphine is all for America.
Yeah.
That's a known fact. Oh, I remember now what I was going to say about the Affordable Care Act.
For sure, yeah.
So just to say, it wasn't that too many hands were in the pot. It's just that it started with Obama, and it had and I can't say exactly, but however many years that it was supposed to roll out in steps to be able to have it actually take effect and roll out. But then 4 years later, as it halfway made its mark through the process of being there, we changed administrations.
Yeah.
And so when we got to that point, it seemed like it didn't work, because then they just scrapped it before it could even start walking.
Yeah.
Well, but anyway, and that is the whole debate, that it's just, there's not one right answer to how to fix it, but it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, exactly. And we can sit here and point fingers all day of people in the past, people in the future and present. But at the end of the day, that doesn't fix anything.
Right.
It doesn't change. I can say you were wrong, but okay, what does that fix?
Nothing.
Nothing's been fixed, and nothing is changing. So yeah, we can sit here and do that all day, but at the same time, we at least know that it's not working the way that it's going right now. And there are changes that needs to happen. It's always unfortunate, and that always happens when an administration changes. All kinds of stuff changes. One person doesn't believe another, whatever, or this is working, and that gets changed. Legislatively or through whatever. And that's one crappy thing about our system, is that it's prone to things like that. It could be working great, you know, in some person's eyes, but another person gets a hold of it. It's like, well, I don't like the way this is working. We're just going to either scrap it all or change it. And I hope that changes in our politics someday. I don't know if it will, but maybe we'll have some kind of change in the future, because it's unfortunate that always freaking happens. It doesn't matter what side.
It doesn't.
Both sides do it. You know, and you guys know I have no political affiliation to start with. I kind of feel both are our issues. And we see it all the time. You know, one gets in power and does nothing. The other one gets in power, says they're going to do something, and then does nothing. And it's just like this, you know, this little moving thing. And, you know, it's always ongoing. And, you know, it shows very heavily in our insurance, and many other things too. But the insurance, it shows a lot.
Yeah.
And like the insurance lobby is very, very strong. Like I think the insurance lobby and, you know, big pharma, they have more power than like alcohol and tobacco combined. You know, because they do have a lot of power. We fight them a lot in the cannabis industry. But these guys, they have way more than us, because if cannabis does become rescheduled, it's going to become a part of this whole mess as well, too, on top of it.
Right. So and even going back to that, like, where does that even fit in with this? And if it gets descheduled, I've always thought and don't think that big pharma will have a lot of play in it, because there won't be a lot of money in mass producing cannabis, and you have to grow it. So that isn't.
And growing it in mass is a lot harder.
And mass is a lot harder.
Just ask Canada.
We've talked about that many times. Canada found that out the hard way. Yeah, they had like huge, massive facilities, and they're like, oh, it's hard to grow, you know, and be profitable at this scale.
Yes. So I think if it gets descheduled, they leave it to the states to make up their own, and then within their states. And I think somebody tried to go through the House to try to get Medicaid in New Mexico to cover medicinal cannabis already, right?
Yes, it was a lawsuit.
It was a lawsuit, and they were trying to get that covered, but that was just kind of like, that's where we're going next, is if it gets descheduled, then at that point, how is the state going to deal with providing medicine if it's qualified and meets the requirements? That's going to be very interesting.
It will be, because, you know, we have an intact medical cannabis, you know, program that we've actually strengthened throughout the years.
Yes.
We didn't get rid of. Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy we did that. You know, Colorado and, you know, these other states, they kind of just shit all over it. And now with this change, that could be a huge, huge burden to them.
Yes.
With us, don't get me wrong, there's going to be mistakes made. There's going to be a lot of stuff that we don't know what's going on. But I think we have a foot up when it comes in that area, because we didn't get rid of our medical cannabis program. And now if it gets rescheduled and it's medical, we have a starting point. You know, we don't have to recreate things or, you know, bring things back or whatever. We just kind of, okay, where do we need to change, or what, this and this and this. And I have no clue how that's going to look. You know, like, you know, I wish I did, but I have no clue. And honestly, I don't know if the federal government knows either.
No, but bottom line, New Mexico has set up their medical cannabis program to where if the federal government wants to know what we're doing with it, how much we're growing, where is it going to, who's receiving it, our database is like ready and done. So we are like we're set up for it to it just works already.
And that's if, you know, things go the way that we've set it up here. You know, they could change it to a way where we're like, well, shit, now we got to change all kinds of other stuff.
What do we got to do? But that every year, and going back to insurance and how New Mexico works, even with New Mexico Medicaids for the last 3 consecutive years, they've had new portals of how to access and how to make it work. And it comes with an additional training time, not just for me, for whoever's doing the billing, whatever. And it's just like, again. So anyway, the portals and making sure the communication, and that was part of one of the goals of the Affordable Care Act, was to make us digital and make us be able to share that information openly. And I feel like our cannabis program did an excellent job of understanding the assignment. Like
I do too. I agree. Yeah, because like even going now, when I do my renewal, I got my card like an hour after I left. You know, after the appointment, and it was pretty seamless for the most part. And now everything is online. Actually, my medical cannabis card, it's on my phone. Yeah, like I don't even have to have a physical card.
Fully electronic. You just have to make sure you log in, log out. But it shows you your card, your expiration date, your application. I think now it even reminds you when you're going to be when you're due for renewal.
Yeah.
So
I even have my units on there.
The units are on there. So it's really come a long way. But it perfectly tracks if there's any question of what's happening in New Mexico with medicinal cannabis, they can pull up a report. And there it is.
Actually, it even tells you where you purchased your cannabis from, like the exact shop, the amount of units you took. Like it's detailed.
Yes.
Like it is tracked. And so I agree. You know, if that is the case and we go that route, it's pretty much going to be like, oh, you need what? Oh, here.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's like, let me put my folder. Oh, yeah, there you go. You know, so I will say that, yeah, New Mexico did a great thing by, and some people are like, why do we still have that? I'm like, because people still need it. You know, there's many people that still need medical cannabis in New Mexico. And to be honest, not paying that 20%, 21 or 22, whatever, it's a huge, huge benefit. Like I saved so much money by not paying that 20-something% tax. And, you know, I shouldn't have to pay that tax. I'm a medical cannabis patient. What's up, voice from God?
Voice of God.
It's
Say that every single time. Look, if you ask people if they wanted to get a 20% discount on their groceries, or if they wanted a 20% discount on their prescriptions in general, you know, medical stuff like that, ask anybody if they want a 20% discount on a car, they're going to take it.
Yeah.
Why aren't you not taking advantage of the Medicare? The card for 20%, I don't have to give the government taxes. And, you know, I'm not on camera and then it's all like,
but yeah, exactly.
So what are some other, you know, key issues that we're dealing with the insurance here in New Mexico too? You know, what are some things that we're dealing with, you know?
Here, okay.
Yeah, the place is really dealing with.
So let me get started. Where should I go? I got deductibles. I talked about, let me just make a quick, prior authorizations are the bane of my existence. It takes so long. They ask for more and more. Before it used to be once a year, but with this year, it didn't matter if I did a prior authorization in November of last year. It's now January and it's 2026, so I have to do it again. Each insurance company has a different portal that have a different vendor to put off their prior auths to. So that means a different portal to go to additionally. So in order to even get your MRI, let's say, covered, it's like 3 different places that I have to go, put it in, and then if I don't answer correctly or I don't upload and there's not enough documentation, they still deny it.
And the VA is the worst.
Well, and kind of the way the VA does everything is the way now Medicare is doing things now. They want a prior auth for everything.
Yep. And I've been dealing with that a lot too. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
And it just takes forever.
Yeah,
and what happens? Delay.
Yeah.
Back to that delay, deny, defend. I mean, you just delay the care and I mean, maybe you don't need it anymore and like you're better magically. But it's like, why do you have to wait? Are they going to be sleeping with whatever problem you have and in pain or not sleeping because of it? Like, no one cares.
Yeah, and then the other fix that we have, you know, the universal healthcare, you know, route, that comes with its own issues too.
Oh, yes.
You know, it's nothing's perfect.
No.
And that will have its own issues too. I've heard people, you know, from other countries like, yeah, it takes me forever to see a doctor. You know, the care isn't that great. And I'm like, makes sense. You know, the VA is essentially universal healthcare.
Yes.
Just for a certain group of people, and that's us veterans.
Yeah.
And we deal with that all the time. And yeah, the care isn't the best.
No.
And sometimes you get treated very poorly. And don't get me wrong, some of these people are just, they're having a shitty time just as you know, like they're all being treated just as bad. And so it's unfortunate that you get the treatment as well back, but you know, I've seen it and I don't know what I was trying to say is I don't know what the real answer is. You know, do we fix insurance or do we improve universal health care, or do we do a mixture of both and kind of figure out where it goes? But then we're recreating the wheel, we're reinventing something
completely.
You know, something totally new.
And if we were to do that, it would take a few years to roll out and everybody get used to and do. But many times I think to myself in my regular day is, if you have insurance, and why do I have to fax to 3 different vendors to get your orders covered?
Yeah.
Why can't I just send the insurance your visit note and whatever else anybody wants from it, ask the insurance company because they have the records.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that because it makes no sense. What it is it moved away from being ran by medical professionals, and now it's just CEOs of, you know, multi-billion-dollar companies. And so now we're stuck with money, not, you know, what this is healthcare for people, because like you're not going to be able to make money if there's nobody working. You know, if there's nobody to buy your services, you know, like. And if you keep killing people off, you know, like, where's the money going to go? Where are you going to get it from? So, like, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not a very good business model, killing your customers, or slowly killing them, and then pissing people off to this point where we're at now. Because now you have people who are attacking CEOs of certain, medical companies and stuff, or even killing them to that point. And people will lash out when it gets to that point. And sad to say, I think we're at that or past it. And this is only going to get worse from that point on, and only really has. And nothing's being fixed. It's like we're screaming that, hey, we hate this and we don't want it, but they're like, okay, so now we're just gonna make it worse. We're gonna fuck you even harder. I'll cuss for you, don't worry.
And and like I said, this year, just particularly with all the changes with that bill, we were talking earlier about like rural New Mexico and like rural health here. It is just, it's forcing the smaller hospitals or very little care they have access to up north or out in the rural communities that you cannot afford to stay open.
Yeah.
When Medicaid, if all your population is Medicaid and you get paid maybe a third for the people that you see, like you can't stay open.
Yeah.
And that's like the state itself. And then it's like, well, the state can help subsidize or like certain like clinics or like make state funded like clinics, but then who gets one first and where do we get it? And like our health department can't even keep up with that. Like that would be an extension of that. So we're just not ready.
And then in New Mexico, we tried to help this year with some legislative changes, right, with the malpractice stuff. Can we go over that too?
Yeah. So real quick, I'm part of keep talking about the problems of healthcare in New Mexico, but one of the largest problems is the provider shortage. You can just kind of look out that we have a ton of dentists.
Yeah, we do.
And banks galore. But like doctors, clinics, there's a good fair amount, but not to match the number of dentists we have. It's just what it is. And it's like, well, why does everybody leave? Or why don't people stay? Or why can't we literally make more doctors generationally? And Las Cruces has done a lot of good things to try to bring Burrell on. We have the family medicine residency program to get exactly that primary care family medicine to stay in Cruces. But people do stay. In general, they stay to get their loans paid off. And once they get a little bit of experience and their loans are gone, so are they.
Yeah.
And it is a fact of life that our Cruces is kind of a landing ground.
Yeah.
You come for a little while, get some really good experience, and then you leave. But then the rest of us that are left here get left with picking up the pieces too. So, recently we have a huge hole for specialty care. We don't have not even a handful of like rheumatologists. Neurology, we have two.
Oh, wow.
We used to have one.
But now
picked one.
But there's only one for how many people in
there's
this
over
area?
100,000 people in the city.
And there's not a neurologist in Deming. You know what I mean? They all come here. So it's like, how long do you think it's going to take for you to get in there? And how long is it going to for you to get that care? And then what happens? You go to El Paso because you get what you need in El Paso because we cannot provide it. So it's like, why do we need to leave the state to get care?
Yeah.
And then the Texas doctors, because this was new for me this year too, is many of the offices in El Paso stopped taking New Mexico Medicaid. So now you have the choice of one specialist here. You can travel 4 hours to go to Albuquerque, but the wait is the same, if not more, because then Albuquerque has the rest of the state to try to accommodate too. So it's just like, well, where do you go when you need something?
I've had people that I know go to Phoenix, sometimes for certain medical care and stuff. So that shouldn't be the case,
We shouldn't have to leave or go that far, and it's like it's not that hard.
No, it's really not.
And the thing we talk about, and Las Cruces is one of the larger cities in New Mexico that we have this problem. The second largest, And, they have this problem in Santa Fe. They have this problem in Farmington, some of the other larger cities. And we're not even talking about if you have to get medical care in Raton or, Tularosa.
Yeah.
Or like I said, my hometown of Gallup, Mexico. If you needed any kind of care, where are you going to get that? You think it's hard to keep doctors and nurses in the larger cities in our state, our rural areas are just.
Alamogordo, even my parents live
Yeah.
in Alamogordo.
Mhm.
There's only 35,000 people there, but they have to go here or El Paso constantly.
Yes.
They're here about once a week,
Yes.
because of that.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. That shouldn't be the case, So the legislature they're trying something,
Yes.
they're not just letting it go
No.
away. And I'm glad that they're trying something.
Yeah.
So what is that something?
So, like I said, Crucis has already tried making the education here to try to just encourage them to come and stay, making more provisions for to grow our own, to make the next generation of healthcare providers here. But the bigger problem and why it's all over New Mexico and why most, especially specialty providers, will not come to New Mexico or they have pulled out in mass droves, which we saw over the last 2 or 3 years. Many of the specialists here just went on one side of the border to Texas and they're still operating on the side of Texas, but they won't operate in New Mexico. Why? Because the cost of malpractice insurance. So let's get back to insurance and now on another token. But the cost of malpractice insurance in New Mexico is just ridiculous. And every single year it just keeps climbing and climbing because a handful of people won some very big lawsuits with it, and then it just makes the rest of New Mexico and the care look bad. And so to insure you, if you live in New Mexico or you practice in New Mexico, you're more likely than 39%, 39 other states to be sued. And why do they want to come here for that? And it's from the provider's perspective too, it's if you did drugs all of your life, you drank every single day, but then you come to me because you had a heart attack and now I'm going to try to fix you, but you die anyway. How is that the provider's fault entirely?
Yeah.
So some of it too, people just have to own up to their own behaviors. But moving and trying to practice in New Mexico, my gosh, they finally went through because with let me just backtrack a little, with the state licenses that we have to hold, I have a controlled substance license, my nursing license, my nurse practitioner license. When I went to renew this last year, the number of questions that were in there were in how many years basically are you planning to stay in healthcare? Are you planning to leave New Mexico in the next couple of years? And if we increase malpractice by however much, how much are you willing to pay basically to stay working in New Mexico? So it was just kind of why are they asking all of these things? But 65% of doctors are considering leaving New Mexico. We don't have doctors, but 65% of them are thinking about
of what
leaving.
we do have. So that's already a small number to start out with, and now it's more than half getting split up again. And that's scary. That's scary.
Yeah. And then 83% of those doctors cite the malpractice laws in New Mexico as the main reason. So thankfully, some senators and representatives and the like took this up into House Bill 99, which just got passed into law, I believe, yesterday.
I think it went active.
Yesterday. So what they're going to do is raise the burden of proof to have clear and convincing evidence. So they're raising the reason that you sued. There has to be more to it than just you tripped over there and or he sneezed at the time of cutting. It's got to be more information around. They're also going to cap the punitive damages. So you can't go and sue for $10 billion because you're missing a little toe.
Yeah.
They're capping that now. Yeah. They're also preventing now stacking of multiple lawsuits. So if you go to one lawyer and you sue because you don't have feeling in your hand, but you go to another lawyer because you don't have feeling in your leg, but you try to double sue and get double the money and double dip, you can't do that no more.
Sounds like a lot of people were gaming the system.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Another big thing was they're requiring truth in damages, which means that the inflation of to give you this one injection actually costs $5, but I'm going to charge $500 for it in hopes that I can get $10 back. Yeah. So that big price hike in the middle to be able to award damages because of medical bills will now get cut from the inflated inflated prices to what the actual care would be. So it doesn't seem like the medical bills are $10 million. They're really only 2.
Yeah.
So to prevent that, and then they're ending lump sum payouts to the plaintiffs, and then they're extending hospital participation in paying off in the lump sum. They're extending that indefinitely for the hospitals to always be part of the litigation that happens when somebody sues if they're involved.
Got it.
So.
Wow. I mean, those are like really key changes that maybe will help, the kind of situation, because it does sound like some people were taking advantage of this. And to be honest, and it shows if 65% of what we already have is thinking about leaving when, a lot of them left a long time ago, because throughout the years, I've had doctors retire, move, like I've had to change my eye doctor like 4 times.
Yeah, the eye doctors especially. Yeah. That's the specialty that people really noticed, like the mass exodus, that it was like, what happened? Why did they all leave? Because they all made the decision collectively when they did that, because loss of vision is a huge, you can sue for that if they mess up your vision. I mean, things happen, but they were one of the ones to then move out to keep being able to provide services, but without paying the premiums of. Anyway, for example, New Mexico premium for the year is maybe, let's say, $5,000. But if you go to Texas, it's only like $2,000, maybe $2,500.
Really?
And every year it's more and more and more per year. And then per specialty, and the eye docs are a good example, the cardiologists, things that are, more likely to loss of life or limb kind of thing. Like those are the guys that are hit more, so they don't want to be here.
And then, going back to insurance, what are they going to do? Just make it higher if it's more of a risk, and if it's something. Then, so maybe that will also, in return, and I think that was the idea of HB, 99 was to lower the insurance cost too as well by doing that.
Yes.
And I hope that happens, and I hope it happens soon, because medical and your health is very important. I know a lot of us, my age, we're just starting to feel it, and you remind me all the time. Thank you. But I know those younger people, we don't go to the doctor as much as the older people. We don't have as many issues yet. As you get older.
Or if you go to the doctor, they're going to find something, and then you're going to be dead tomorrow. Yeah. That's not true.
Yeah. That's generally why guys don't like to go to the doctor. That's their job, to find something wrong with you.
Yes.
To fix it, mind you, but it's their job to find something wrong.
Yeah, and if you don't, and that is denial at its finest, that you don't want to know, you kind of know, but you put it off, you put it off, you put it off, and those are the things that we could have fixed that.
Hey, stop talking about me.
Yeah, I mean, I've come to issues with you before, and it wasn't to the point where we couldn't fix it. It was like, okay, this is something that we can deal with, and you can work on, and it's helped a lot, and so I'm an attestament of that. You guys can fix your issues. Don't be afraid of going to the doctor all the time. Don't get me wrong. There's certain times where you kind of feel like it's a little weird or whatever, but you need to figure out what's going on. You guys, we're all getting older. No one's getting younger. No one goes backwards in age, even though we wish we could. And we have to take care of ourselves. That was one thing that they stressed in the military too. One that you're pretty much a robot and you have to stay healthy, but your health is very, very, very important. Like even changing your socks, something that simple. On a regular basis, makes a big difference. Yeah, fungus on your feet. Yeah, you guys don't think it, but foot fungus in the military, huge issue. Let me fix this little blurriness going on right there.
Oh, what did you do?
I don't know, but the video got a little blurry. Oh. But I appreciate the the update on these few things. Is there anything else on the malpractice or insurance that you want to share?
No, just hopefully this will aid, like I said, in keeping especially the specialists that we so desperately need here to stay in New Mexico. Encourage them to come and open more specialty clinics here if they're outside of New Mexico, just so that we can get the care that we need.
Yeah, 100%.
So, and we shouldn't. And I feel like, why do we need to leave the state to get what we need?
Yeah. Why? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I hear people, or you can just leave. I'm like, why do I have to do that? That doesn't make any sense.
But I personally, when you need something done, cardiology is at least somewhere between a month to 3 months for non-urgent to get in. If you need rheumatology, at least a year. We lost, I think, 2 of the rheumatologists that we had just got already left again. So that left all those folks like displaced. So really, if you need something or we need something to be done, I send to El Paso and hope that you have commercial insurance and it'll be fine.
Yeah, because nothing else you can do. You know?
But it's sad that you have to wait for things like, oh, you have cancer. And what are you waiting for? Your PET scan so that we can stage your cancer. And oh, by the way, there's only one of those in in Las Cruces and it's down.
Yeah.
So we can schedule you in Alamogordo or Albuquerque in the next 3 months. Because then you got to compete with everybody else. And it's like, well, why can't you do it within a month to get started? And those small delays will, I mean, it can be argued whether that time will help you to, I don't know, have a better outcome or not. But I mean, it can't hurt. And it's like, why do we have to wait 9 months to see a specialist to get started? Like, you might die by then.
Yeah, or it could get worse to the point where you're hospitalized and now it's an emergency. You know, like it could be something that's benign, but then turns into something that's very severe. You know, within that time period.
Or I find more that people give up. Yeah. And they're like, well, why go through all of this hassle and all of this wait if I'm still going to feel the same? Yeah, there's no change. Yeah, so they just give up and they just don't follow through because it's too far, too expensive. You know, it is what it is. Yeah. And I appreciate the updates on all of this. If there's anything new, please let me know. And of course, when we have you on the next time, of course, I'd love to update on anything, if this got better, you know, where we're at with everything. So all that. So is there anything else you want to mention before we go on to the next topic? No, I mean, I could talk all day about insurances, but I guess my main point too was I just wanted to make that even like patients get upset because things aren't done or they can't get their medication or why, if my back hurts, how come I can't just go get an MRI? It's like patients need to understand too that the process behind that is like crazy, and all of the process that happens behind the scenes after you leave to authorize your stuff isn't time that gets paid. It's outside of clinic time. There are providers around the country trying to lobby to be able to charge for their time to do all of this extra work. Because again, healthcare as a business will take advantage that providers or healthcare personnel know that I'm not going to get paid for this. No one is going to come and give me 5 gold stars. If I don't do this, the patient won't get what they need. Yeah. So they prey on that fact that they know that we are not going to let you just wait.
It's against your oath.
Exactly. Yeah. So we will do what we need to do to comply so the patient gets what they need. So that again is like, we're not getting paid for more work to do and expected to provide all this care according to their guidelines that we can't even meet because they're in the way. Yeah. So I hope, you know, the stuff that we've done here in New Mexico, changes for the better here. You know, we've talked about insurance and how all that stuff needs to change, but that's not going to happen for a while. Right. You know, like unfortunately, but what will happen is stuff like, like this, HB 99 that, will help us out. And, medical cannabis patients, we can use this too, and this will benefit us because I know many a sick medical cannabis patient, cancer patients, AIDS patients, and many others who could benefit from, this being better. Yes. And so, more specialists is more care, more providers, more people can access care. Hopefully the quality will go up of our care in this area because of that too. And I don't know if I harped on this last time, but standard of practice is what insurance look at and go by to be able to insure us. But if providers can get together and raise that bar, that's when healthcare can be better.
Got it. So it's within the community too, just like anything else. Yes, you can't rely just on the government. It has to fall back on the community too to make it better.
Yeah, and we have to hold our peers accountable to be like, it's not magic. Am I supposed to guess what happened in the ER? Why can you not facilitate sending medical records electronically because it's supposed to make it easier? Yeah. Why, however many years later since the Affordable Care Act, I still can't get that done? Yeah. I am expected to see a primary care patient if they've been hospitalized within 7 days. to make sure they don't get readmitted or figure out what's wrong with them so
Yeah.
they don't have to go back. 7 days. I can tell you that the hospitals never fax records.
Yeah,
They'll
no,
fax
yeah.
me the summary, maybe that they were there in the ER, but the actual what I need to know, what you gave them, what you did,
Yeah,
it's like impossible to get records back within a week.
yeah,
So anyway, it's just, it is what it is. I just hope that we can just be better with, that's not acceptable. This person left this facility because they had a heart attack, and yeah, we need to fax their records to make sure this patient gets what they need at their follow-up.
yeah.
Not, okay, they're gone, next.
Yeah, it's okay. We're not going to worry about that guy anyway, even though we told him we're going to help.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
you know, that's not fair.
So yeah, just kind of raising that standard of care and bringing it back to the humanity in care, and what healthcare actually is. I mean, it is a business, and at the end of the day, we have to keep the doors open, but what happened to coming into healthcare to help people?
Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
agree. You know, like a lot of it goes against the oath that you guys take. And I keep thinking, I was like, a lot of that is just, they shouldn't have to be forced to do that. They took an oath, and like, you know, they're supposed to be able to help people, save people. And what you guys are doing is the total fucking opposite. You know, not you guys, but the
insurance, the middleman.
people. Yeah, the middleman.
Again, the person that's supposed to be just negotiating price for you is deciding the rest of your life.
Yeah, he's telling the doctor what to do. That part blows my mind every time, and it will never change or cease to amaze me that that's the way it goes, you know. So, but thank you so much, and I appreciate these updates and everything. But before we go on, probably to our last topic for the day, I really you brought up something that was very, I wouldn't say important, but I think it's important. It's important for certain people in the industry and in the community to know. It's alcohol and cocaine issue, right? You know, that we're seeing, because certain cannabis users still drink and stuff like that, and some still do other substances as well too, outside of that. So this is great information. So please go ahead and share it.
So I just wanted to bring up a quick little tidbit, because I feel like people are very aware of, oh my gosh, I don't want to get cancer, I need to do this. Oh my God, you know, prevention. But the number one killer in America today is still heart disease. And so even, and I'm going somewhere with this, I promise, but heart disease, high blood pressure, all of it, you mix in smoking anything, alcohol, and then if you mix in cocaine and alcohol in particular, I wanted to just bring this up so people are aware, whoever's watching, is when alcohol and cocaine are taken together, it creates, you metabolize it and you create a compound called cocaethylene, which basically makes the effects of the cocaine more potent, in that you can have a heart attack so much easier, you can have seizures so much easier, you can overdose so much easier, and the short-term memory loss with blackouts that happen with cocaine and alcohol, you will not remember anything. And so you can see where that is a big risk if you are engaging in those activities, or partying with your friends. If it has the potential to have the memory loss and blackouts, that is like screams stranger danger for like date rape. So like, somebody doesn't have to slip you something in your drink, you can willingly take it.
Yeah, you could be out having shots with someone and they say, want some cocaine? Sure. And then that's all it takes.
And that's all it takes. So like, just to be aware of the cocaethylene, when you put those two things together, I mean, it's not a good thing. I've heard it over and over again that like, oh, te pone leve, because alcohol brings you down, you get too sleepy, but then the cocaine brings you back up, and it's like constant party time. But the risks of that, and the risk of you dropping dead suddenly, more likely from a heart attack or a stroke, it doesn't matter what age you are either.
Yeah.
You don't have to have been doing it for years. You could have been 18, done it for the first time, mix those two things together. Your own metabolism made it and created it to be more potent, and then you dropped it.
That's insane, you know, and we've seen this throughout the years. You know, we were talking before the show, you know, several musical artists throughout the years, you know,
rock stars.
Yeah, rock stars. You know, partying like a rock star has its fun times, but it's also very dangerous. You know,
and that's why the magic age is what, 27, right?
Yeah,
that they all die from.
28,
28, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, but that is why, because your body can't tolerate that for that long, and then just one day it'll break down. Not to mention, this area with allergies and cocaine, you will have sinus problems every single day of your life.
Oh, I know people that, you know, they have a cocaine problem here, and that's
And they're like making whatever, and then they can't figure out why they get infections. They can't figure out why they're constantly coughing. They
yeah.
can't figure out like why, but it's like, let me tell you, you might not want to know, but
Yeah.
it's just little things like that. And even in the medical community, when we see patients and see those things, it's like people aren't going to outright admit things like that, but that is like you look in their mouth or their nose, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's the point where you should like have that talk about this is what this can do to you. And most of the time they'll ignore you and not
What do you know?
listen.
Yeah.
But like I said, you have to at least try to inform them and like, hey, this is really bad.
Mhm.
Like mixing things is bad.
Yeah.
But in particular, like I said, the amplification of the bad things, like if you're a angry drunk, mix that with cocaine, now you have a raging bull
Mhm.
kind of thing. Like it amplifies those traits in people, and then the next day they don't even know what happened and don't
Yeah.
believe you.
Yeah.
And business as usual.
Yeah.
And whoever gets hurt along the way, if you didn't remember, it didn't happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, like how are you supposed to take whatever in their mind, you know, how am I
Mhm.
supposed to take responsibility when I don't remember what
Yeah.
happened, when that's not the case, you know, like
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. And that's the addiction talking sometimes
Yes.
too, you know, like trying to
Yes.
just make sense of it in your own mind, or, you know, just trying to
Mhm.
make it, you know, not wrong.
Make it part of your narrative and
Yeah.
spin it. That's gaslighting at its
Yeah,
best.
and addiction does that. You know,
Mhm.
I've seen it. You know, do it to many people, and you know, after they get out of that haze, they're like, "I'm sorry," you know, like,
Mhm.
and I'm happy when people do. You know, if you
Yeah.
are dealing with, you know, any kind of addiction issue, please seek help. You know, talk to somebody you care about, doctors, friends,
Mhm.
whatever. You know, and then figure out your next steps from there.
Yeah.
Because addiction's a real thing and it's a real issue, and it's plagued our
Mhm.
community here in New Mexico for decades.
For decades. And if one thing, I know I've complained a lot about what New Mexico has, or doesn't have, but we do have a good amount in cruces. If you need help, there are many different choices to have with substance abuse. Everything from opioids to whatever is ailing you. We have several different choices, and that you can get help for pretty easily. So that we do have available quickly.
Nice. And if you don't mind, could you send me that stuff and I'll try to put it in the
Yeah,
description
yeah,
for the
yeah,
people
yeah.
that need help? Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And if you guys wonder, like, why is he talking so much about cannabis today? Sometimes
Yeah.
certain conversations are more important than other things, guys. You know, I bring a medical professional onto the show, and you know, she's sharing some really great information with you guys. And you know, this is a one-off, you know, episode where sometimes we don't always talk
Yeah.
about cannabis and stuff, but this is
Yeah.
the important stuff. You know, every cannabis person I know has to go to the doctor.
Mhm.
Every cannabis person I know has to use medical insurance.
Mhm.
And some cannabis people I know have a cocaine addiction problem and a drinking issue. So these are things that do affect our community, and it's stuff
Mhm.
that we need to talk about. And I appreciate you
Mhm.
bringing this up, because I had no clue that your chances of dying, because I've never used cocaine,
Mhm.
cocaine and alcohol significantly increase when you use
Mhm.
both at the same time, and it
Mhm.
creates that compound essentially inside of your body.
Mhm.
You know, that you're playing chemistry set with your body, and that doesn't sound good.
Yeah,
You know,
like a
and
pressure kettle.
yeah, exactly. And luckily, I've known people who have done this and haven't died, but that doesn't mean that they didn't do long-lasting damage to their body in the process.
Yes, because you think, and then like anything else, the things you do in your 20s will catch up with you in like your 40s at least.
Yeah,
But longer down the line, it's like it makes a whole lot of sense that the 70s and disco were great, but look at how many of that population has died from heart disease.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, granted, what we put in our mouths, and that's what everybody harps on, but it's like, what other things are you doing?
That doesn't help. Yeah, and
Hmm.
it could be you think it's not
Hmm.
doing anything wrong because you had a great time you don't remember, but
Ah, no
it's
pasa
just
nada.
exactly right.
No. Yeah, but I mean, the little things like that catch up with you later. And when you're faced with your cardiac cripple because you like survived that kind of heart attack, it's like you can't live your life anymore.
Yeah,
So is it really worth it?
right.
Like,
Exactly. So, you know, harm reduction, you know,
harm reduction.
yeah, harm reduction 100%. So, guys, if you need help, I'm gonna try to get the information on the description. So that way, if you are one of those people, anonymously, you can go and seek help. I know it's hard sometimes to seek for help, but that is the biggest step and bravest step, is just admitting that you need help in the first
Hmm.
place. So if that is you, please, by all means, you don't even have to tell me or her. You know, we just want you guys to get help. That's all.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's just and I'll just pose this question to you, like, if you have a problem with any substance, and it could be food, it could be gambling, it could be sex, it could be drugs, it could be whatever of the like, you have to ask yourself, who's in control, you or it?
Yeah.
And if the answer isn't you, you should ask for help.
Yeah.
Because you should always be in control of what's going on and like be aware. And it's, if something or someone is controlling you, then if that answer isn't you at the end of the day, like, that's not normal.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, if that thing has that much power over you, then yeah, you know,
Yeah.
you need some help, and especially if it's starting to, you know, affect your personal relationships, your financial situations, you know, and just like your all around mental, you need help with it. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing this up to me, and you know, this is a really great conversation to have, because that is, especially within the Latino community, you know, cocaine and alcohol, they kind of just they kiss all the time. And I've seen it, you know, throughout my whole life, and it needs to be said, you know, like that's just not a smart thing to do. And my friends who do this, I'm probably gonna scold them from now on. You know, like I'll probably,
now you know.
yeah, like, hey, you don't even know that. God damn it, I need you alive. So, but I appreciate that, and those of you listening, thank you all for listening. This is some great information. I hope some of you all took it to the best place. But I have two more things together that I'm going to combine into something really quick, because I really do want to update you guys on this, because before the show started, I got an update that they may reschedule cannabis as early as today or this week. So I don't know if that's happened throughout the show. So it could have happened while we're here, but I have no clue. So we'll see afterwards. I wanted to mention that because President Trump also signed another executive order, and he signs a lot of them, to look at psychedelics, to speed that process up to kind of what we did with the cannabis and rescheduling thing. So he signed that, and honestly, it didn't mention, he mentioned ibogaine in there, but they didn't mention, you know, psilocybin or anything like that, but they mentioned psychedelics themselves more than anything. So that tells me it's all psychedelics, not just ibogaine or, you know, psilocybin and stuff like that. And these are, you know, to be used in a clinical environment, medically, et cetera, not to, you know, party on. And this is to help with mental health and that. So that's being mentioned too. And at the same time, when he did that, he begged, you know, the people, you know, DEA on the rescheduling process to, you know, let's do something, hurry up. And now we got this information. Now, this didn't come from the government. This came from a source. Now, I believe, I don't know who the source is, but I'm thinking it's the same source that has been from before when we found out about rescheduling, and then this other information too. I think it may be the same source or similar. They have been fairly accurate. They weren't so the last time, but the time before they were. So it's a fairly believable source. If that is the source, I have no clue if that is the case or not. But we'll see. The week it's only Wednesday when this episode airs, you know, and everything else, it'll be Thursday. So we'll see, you know, once it comes to the end of the week, maybe by Friday we'll hear something, or maybe it already happened and I'm behind, and, you know, we got to update everybody here soon. So I wanted to update everybody on that. And also there was a bill that was introduced into Congress by Rand Paul, who's a Republican from Kentucky. And this bill is meant to allow the states to opt out of the hemp ban that's essentially coming this fall. And this is actually a bipartisan effort. It's sponsored by Rand Paul, as I said, but it's also co-sponsored by Senator Amy Klobuchar. I hope I said that right. Klobuchar, there we go. She's a Democrat from Minnesota. And Joni Ernst he's a Republican from Iowa. And so this is bipartisan, so hopefully, you know, it has more of a chance. Usually when you have one party introducing it, the chances of it passing aren't as great these days. So seeing bipartisan is good. I did want to go into this a little bit deeper, but we can go in that in a different time. I just wanted you guys to at least get the information out and know that, you know, this stuff is going on. The cannabis one thing with the rescheduling happening this week, that just came out like literally like an hour ago that I found out. So we'll see if that's the case here soon. And I hope some greatness comes out of this. You know, I hope some changes do happen, be it Schedule 3, deschedule. You know me, I want deschedule. But at the same time, you know, will rescheduling help us? Sure, but depending on how they do it. So we'll see. And that's all I have for this week. And thank you so much, Lori, for joining me today.
Thanks for
I'm sorry,
having me.
guys. It was a long episode, but there's so much great information in there. And you bring up so many great topics, and you put it in such a way that I just couldn't stop you, you know, to to do. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I was like, no, this is great information. People need to hear it. So I appreciate you coming again, and I can't wait to get the updates on next year or next time on how this is going and stuff. Did the SHB 99 help? Is the insurance getting cheaper? Are we getting more doctors? And who knows? Maybe we'll be able to tell ourselves, and I won't have to have that episode. But I will bring you back to get the get the update. And I appreciate you joining me again.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Of course. And is there anything you want to say before you end the show today?
No. No, I can't really think of anything. I can't really think of anything. Stay safe. Don't mix alcohol with cocaine, and if anything, don't mess with alcohol at all.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah.
Get your medical card.
Come get your medical card. Come talk about it. If you've been buying rec this whole time, but you have a medical condition that qualifies for it, it's like, why are you wasting 20% on each purchase that you could be saving? So anyway, once you get your medical card, it makes the difference that it is medicine for one of the approved conditions by the state. So then it's not taxable. So if you're using it for that reason, get your medical card.
100%. And worker comp, they actually cover your cannabis expenses. They reimburse you.
Really?
Yeah, as well. So that's another reason. So if you are working, you have a job, you get hurt, workman comp will reimburse your cannabis. Of course, there's a whole process, bureaucratic BS with that, but that is a possibility. So thank you for that, and thank you guys for watching this week. It was a great episode. Thank you for those who joined over here, and I'll see y'all next week for another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. Now let's go see if cannabis really got rescheduled. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Shoots.